Hello and welcome to Anime Only. My name is Brandon, and today, friends, is not a happy one. It was announced today, as of writing this, March 8th, 2024, that we have lost a great man and a personal paragon, Akira Toriyama. In this video, I want to give a summarized rundown of Toriyama's career and his legacy, and celebrate in some small way the life that this man led and the lives that were shaped by him. And I count myself lucky enough to be included in that list. Dragon Ball was the first anime I had ever seen, and I had to have been maybe 6 or 7, and I was enraptured by the world that Goku lived in. The different kinds of people, the level of technology, and of course the fights. Goku's pure-heartedness, I'm not ashamed to say, guided my own moral compass growing up, and still does to some extent. And I know I'm not the only person who ever tried to do a Kamehameha. Really focusing and centering my being and really trying to get that, you know? One of the long-term goals of my channel was actually to get big enough to one day be able to meet Toriyama, even if it was just at a convention or something. But time, it seems, moves against us all. Now, I'm gonna try to not make this super dry, but I'm actually really sad about this, you guys. This man was my childhood. Anyway, let's get right into it. Any sources will be linked in the description, and I should preface this by saying I am about to butcher a whole bunch of words and names, so sorry. Akira Toriyama was born April 5th, 1955, in Nagoya City in the Aichi Prefecture. As a child, Toriyama, with little else to do, drew pictures of whatever caught his attention. He had always loved animals and spent much of his time drawing them and a spattering of vehicles, as his father was a mechanic and an avid motorbike racer. I couldn't find any of these early doodles, but I imagine they'd be worth a fortune. After watching 101 Dalmatians, released in 1961, Toriyama was said to have been blown away by the animation, and a desire to draw pictures that good was planted in his young mind. In elementary school, Toriyama recalled how his classmates would imitate drawing the manga of the time, and how a friend's older brother had an impressive manga collection, which allowed Toriyama to start reading them in earnest. In particular, Astro Boy had been cited by Toriyama to be his original source of inspiration to become a manga artist. At the age of 23, Toriyama tried his hand in the manga industry, submitting a work to Weekly Shonen Jump, who accepted submissions for their Newcomer Award every month. Kazuhiko Torishima, who would later become Toriyama's editor, reviewed this work. And although it wasn't eligible for that competition, Kazuhiko encouraged Toriyama to keep going and sending in his drawings. And just as an aside, Toriyama's work wasn't eligible for that competition because it was a parody of Star Wars and not an original work. And I would give my left foot for a chance to read that. This encouragement would lead Toriyama to create his first published work in 1978, titled Wonder Island, which would actually finish last place in a reader's survey. This near success spurred Toriyama to create a sequel, creatively titled Wonder Island 2, which also didn't exactly find success. At this point, Toriyama had intended to get paid and leave the industry. However, his stubbornness wouldn't allow him to quit, leaving only failure behind. So he persevered, continuing to release not so successful manga for about a year, until Torishima suggested he draw a female lead. This idea led Toriyama to hesitantly create Tomato the Cutesy Gumshoe, his first manga to find some small success. And I'll admit, I have never heard of this before, but I think I'm gonna hunt it down. Emboldened by this success, Toriyama decided to draw another female lead, and released what would become his first hugely successful manga, Dr. Slump. And I learned of this one a long while back when someone told me in junior high, I think, that Aurelie from Dragon Ball was actually a callback character to Dr. Slump. Dr. Slump would be serialized in Weekly Shonen Jump from 1980 to 1984 and would make Akira Toriyama a household name, selling over 35 million copies in Japan alone by 2008. Toriyama would spend the next couple of years rolling out banger after banger, releasing popular one-shot mangas such as Pola and Roid, Madmatic, and Pink, which all led to the founding of the official Toriyama fan club in 1982. In 1983, Akira Toriyama would release Dragon Boy, a two-part kung fu shonen manga that would evolve in 1984 to become Toriyama's most famous work, Dragon Ball. Running until 1995, the success of Dragon Ball cannot be overstated. Selling over 300 million copies worldwide, it is still one of the best-selling and probably the most influential manga of all time, spawning multiple adaptations such as Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super, along with 24 movies and a multitude of video games. However, even with all of this success, Akira Toriyama wasn't satisfied with just this one franchise, and continued to release popular one-shot manga such as Mr. Ho, Young Master Kinosuke, The Elder, Little Mama Jamma, and Karamaru and the Perfect Day, none of which I've ever heard of before, but all to some success. In 1986, the same year I was born, mind you, Toriyama was enlisted to work as a character designer for Dragon Quest, without ever even knowing what an RPG was. He enjoyed the experience so much, he continued to work on the character designs for all of the Dragon Quest games after that, and even went on to design characters for the Tobal series and my absolute favorite game of all time, Chrono Trigger. And you can even see the influence that his art has left on the video game industry in games like Secret of Evermore, Secret of Mana, Wild Arms, and many, many more. And even still, Toriyama's genius was not sated with just manga, anime, movies, and video games. Did you guys know that Akira Toriyama designed an electric car? Well, he did. It's called the Q-Volt, and CQ Motors produced 9 of these cars in 2005 in various colors, for about 2 million yen, roughly $20,000 US, and could reach speeds of about 30 kph. In 2009, Toriyama drew Delicious Island's Mr. U, a manga for Anjo's Rural Society project to teach the importance of agriculture and nature to children. And in 2011, he collaborated with Weekly Shonen Jump to produce a video to help raise support and awareness for the 2011 earthquake and tsunami that devastated Japan. And his name is immortalized by entomologist Ennio Bicano, who I think should be sainted for this act, when he named a species of beetle Ogigas toriyamai, after Toriyama himself, and another species named Ogigas mutant Roshi, after Toriyama's Dragon Ball character and young Goku's mentor, Master Roshi. In more recent years, Toriyama seemed to have wanted to make a more direct contribution to the anime that his manga produced, and in 2012, Toriyama was heavily involved in the creation of Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods, followed in 2015 by the Resurrection of F movie, which Toriyama wrote the original script for. Toriyama also supplied the basic story outline and character designs for Dragon Ball Super, and was likewise involved in the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie in 2018 and Dragon Ball Super Superhero in 2022. Akira Toriyama has influenced many of the greatest manga artists of today, including Ichiro Oda of One Piece, Masashi Kishimoto from Naruto, Hiro Mishima from Fairy Tail, Tite Kubo from Bleach. Even DreamWorks Animations stated Toriyama as an influence in their film The Bad Guys. Toriyama has influenced many of our lives as well, giving some of us memories that we'll never forget, and experiences for us to pass on to future generations. Akira Toriyama leaves behind a wife and 2 children, and I know that they'll never see this, me being a small man talking about the barest shadow of this great artist. But if you ever did see this, I just want to say, the whole world mourns this loss. But more than that, we celebrate the life that Akira Toriyama led, the legacy that he leaves behind, and the influence that will carry his name forward. Thank you for sharing him with us. We can never repay you. Thank you, Toriyama.